Okay, a few things to take care of, and then I'll tell you about the surprise that I indicated. Sorry about the bee, the sound of the bee. That struck me as pretty funny. I didn't, at the beginning of the year I said this was going to be like reality television. Well, there's no bee here today, but one of my cows is in here, and the rest of them may come in the middle of the class. Michael Caine, I can't remember if I mentioned that or not, that one of my viewers, a guy named Ed, pointed out that was the guy's last name. And I thank him for that. I might have said that already, I don't know. Phineas Fogg and Passepartout. I'm not sure about this, but Phineas Fogg, that might be PH. He's the main character in Around the World in 80 Days. I couldn't think of him. Now, I neglected to mention Hans Christian Andersen when I was talking about comparative literature of the Victorian era. So I'm backing up and cleaning things up here a little bit. He was Danish. I don't know to what extent he collected them. He may have written them originally, but I thought to myself, how could I forget him? Because he's the one who wrote The Emperor's New Clothes. That might be my favorite of all the folk tales, or the fairy tales. I think of it so often, so often. I was tempted to launch into a whole thing about modern education in the United States. I mean, sometimes things are so obvious, but nobody dares to say anything about it. All the extent to which modern American and Western culture consumes energy, and they think, oh, we've got to have alternate sources of energy, and it is so obvious that we just have to use way less, that the culture has to change. Time and time again, I think of The Emperor's New Clothes. Nobody dares to say what is so obvious. I love that story. Anyway, Andrew Lang. It took me a while to think of his first name. I don't think these guys are as famous as the Grimm brothers. I'm pretty sure they're not. And in my speed, I can forgive myself for dealing with the Grimm brothers. I would not want to miss them. But he was Scottish, a collector of folk tales, and he published a lot of books of them. I guess Rumpelstiltskin was his work, that he collected it. I thought it was maybe the Grimm brothers, but Andrew Lang collected them also from the Grimm brothers' work, and from Scheherazade, I think, as well. And his name deserves to go in there, even though it's not comparative literature. It's getting a little ragged. And Mother Goose, she's legendary, or fictional. There apparently was never anybody named Mother Goose, or represented by the name Mother Goose. But in English, there's a collection of rhymes, mostly used for children, that are delightful, perfectly delightful. I don't know if it would work in translation, I'm just not sure, because they're poetry, they rhyme. Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock struck one, then down he run, hickory dickory dock. It's part of at least English-speaking children's being raised. All right, that was just to sort of clean that up. Now, the surprise, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but there's about to be a grand pause in this class. That's probably a good way to explain what's going to happen. That's a musical term. In the Hallelujah Chorus, George Frederick Handel's Hallelujah Chorus, right before the end of the chorus, the conductor shuts everything down. It's quiet, and then he ends it with Hallelujah. It's always awkward when somebody is just singing their heart out, but not a good musician, and they don't realize that the grand pause is coming, and they sing right through it. Well, what I mean by that is that I'm going to stop this class. I've got 11 days after today. I have 11 days left. One day I will probably do later this week, and then I'll have 10 days left. But I'm going to stop for over 3 weeks. And why? Well, I'm going to go travel. I'm going to go to Europe. It's going to be, and in the next video, I'll explain to you what I hope to gain from that. But I thought about trying to schedule things in such a way that I could finish the class before I went to Europe, but I think this will be way better because I'll be different after the trip that I'm about to describe to you. In a sense, I thought about it's going to be like they say around the world in 80 days. This is going to be a trip around Europe in 19 days or something. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do here in just a moment. But still, one other thing I want to say. You know, this business of why travel? Well, travel, I had heard that the word travel was related to travail, which is an English word which means hard work. And I looked it up. I looked the etymology up in a dictionary, and here it comes from the French word, which means to torture. Travel is about pain. It's about hard work. So why would somebody do that? Why would somebody travel? Well, they travel to learn. That's how much people want to learn. 6 times, I think it was, I led groups of students to Europe. Not part of the school year. This was afterwards. And I myself have been to Europe. I think this will be my 12th time. And why to do it? It's to learn. And I will be very surprised, amazed really, if when I come back from this grand pause, if I have not learned a lot. I thought I don't actually want to try to explain about the 20th century before I go to Europe, because I'll learn so much. You know, before I go on, I'm going to pick the camera up and show you some of my live audience now.